to Jonathan Taylor. Huge hole. He's at the 30. He's going to go. 10, 5, touchdown. Jonathan Taylor made a man miss the line of scrimmage and then runs it into Pater for a one-handed INT. Are you kidding me? Kenny Moore.
What a play by Nyheim Hines.
Horseshoe is back, baby. The horseshoe is back.
What's going on, Colts Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Bring the Juice Colts podcast. Cody Felger here. On with me, my friend, Mr. Daniel Bragg himself. Daniel, thanks for coming on, man. How have you been?
I've been good, man. I appreciate you guys having me back on. I was on with Derek a few weeks ago, and I was looking forward to coming back on with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have you back, man, and have you on an actual podcast that we kind of pre-record and all that good stuff, where we can actually kind of dive into a specific topic. And the topic this year, we did this last year around this time. We're going to look at 5 Indianapolis Colts who we think are going to have better 2021 seasons than 2020. Now, these could be any guys that were on different teams last year, could be guys that, you know, maybe we didn't have great seasons with the Colts last year. We think maybe they're going to take a step forward, or guys that maybe had a pretty good season, but we feel like even further now they're going to take another step forward, or simply could be a guy that was injured last year and we think is going to make a good recovery and going to have an impact on this team in 2021. And so, Daniel, we can start right into this, man, and go to number 5. This is a guy that you brought up that I think you raised a really good point with. That's Bobby Okereke. We really feel like he can make another step here in his development now after being the starter at Mike linebacker the last couple seasons. What are your overall thoughts on why you believe this year Okereke can make another jump in 2021?
I believe at least, we'll find out more in camp, but I believe Okereke is going to be the one that naturally steps into Anthony Walker's position. And Okereke was 5th in tackles in the entire team last year, but once he steps into that role, naturally, you would assume he's going to get more tackles. And I've liked Bobby since he got to camp a few years ago. I think they've naturally been grooming him to take over for Anthony Walker, and I think that's kind of why they didn't re-sign Anthony Walker. It just makes sense that, you know, by addition by subtraction, he's going to be able to have a bigger year than last year.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of flashes from Okereke, and I feel like this year in particular, he has a really good chance to just ascend as a player as well. Like, obviously, he'll get more playing time, we feel like, with Anthony Walker leaving and going to Cleveland. But I feel like there's still obviously things that he can clean up and get better in. And just another year in the system, I think it's going to do him really, really good. Pairing alongside of Darius Leonard, I just think both those guys are really athletic linebackers, and I really feel like Okereke has the opportunity now with really, you know, no competition, I would say, at that Mike linebacker, no competition that you really worry about. He has a really good chance to really expand his role as that Mike linebacker. So I like Bobby Okereke here at number 5. I mean, not that he's been bad by any stretch of the imagination, right? He's been a pretty good player for you, but you feel like he could even take another step here in 2021. All right, number 4 here is Komoko Turay, former second-round pick in 2018. One of those guys that showed a lot of potential. I mean, when you look at that 2019 start of the season, I mean, that guy was one of the better pass rushers in the league. Obviously had that injury, and really now he's finally getting back to fully healthy. I mean, he came back last season, but wasn't fully healthy and wasn't the same Komoko Turay that we saw in those games. What are your thoughts on Turay and how he could potentially, now being healthy, have a better season than he had in 2020?
Well, I mean, I think they're going to use him more as a down defensive end, fill in that because I don't think they've re-signed Justin Houston, have they?
No, they didn't. Yeah.
No. So, I mean, mixing him in with the guys that they drafted, if, they're depending on how many snaps they get and all that. Turay naturally, he can't really, it's like because of his lack of performance, because he hasn't been able to play. He's naturally going to, I think, have a better year. I think he's finally healthy. And if he can get back to even what he was in his rookie season, I think Turay is set up this year to have a at least coming out party again, because a lot of people have forgotten about him.
I think so, yeah. And with the addition of Kwity Paye on the other side, DeForest Buckner, Grover Stewart, we already know about, and just some other guys that you've added, over the course of the last couple seasons, I think this is really a great opportunity for Komoko Turay to really get more one-on-one opportunities against those offensive tackles and really show the flashes that he showed in 2019. I mean, if he can get back to that form that he showed early on in that season, I really feel like he could be one of the better pass rushers in the league. If he does keep that up, that's a big if with that injury. That was a really brutal injury. But I agree. I think he really has a chance to ascend into a really good, situational pass rusher for the Colts this coming season. And, and for that reason, I mean, I think you got to put him on this list just because the potential is so high. And we just didn't see a whole lot out of him, even though he was on the field a decent amount in 2020. So he makes the list there at number 4. Number 3, another guy that's kind of been injured a little bit, was out of that 2019 draft, another second-round pick. That's Paris Campbell. Now, Daniel, that first year with Paris Campbell, he had a lot of weird injuries. It just seemed like as soon as he got healthy, he got another injury. And it seemed like, and he even admitted, right, like he didn't have his body ready for the NFL in certain ways. And so he comes in, gets his body right for the 2020 season, plays really well in week 1 against Jacksonville, and then really just gets, Harrison Smith makes a hit to his knee and he's done for the year. And there's just like nothing you can do at that point. It's just one of those freak injuries that just happened to Paris Campbell. But now you feel like with his body right, if something like that doesn't happen again, a crazy thing like that, I mean, I think Paris Campbell's primed to really break out this season. What are your thoughts on that?
I like Paris Campbell. I think they can definitely finally line him up in the slot because they're confident in the second option. And so, as long as he is fully healthy, and I don't think there's any concern with that. I mean, they wouldn't put him out there if he wasn't. He needs a big year because the first 2 years, obviously, that 1 touchdown his rookie season, and then obviously nothing last year. You're kind of counting on him. If you're the Colts, we need you to prove something at some point. And I think it's as much of I'm optimistic that it will be a good year for him as much as he knows it has to be a good year for him. So I look for him to be targeted a lot by Wentz. And he's definitely a downfield option, which I think the Colts finally will have a more reliable arm to go downfield. So I'm really optimistic about what Paris Campbell can bring to the offense this year.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, the quarterback giving, more options to these wide receivers. How about a guy that's really made his money going deep? That's T.Y. Hilton. I mean, how many plays when Andrew Luck was the quarterback, did he just throw it to T.Y. Hilton? He just beat everybody down the field. Obviously, it's been a few years since that's really been a big part of T.Y. Hilton's game. With age, naturally, you lose some of that straight line speed that you have there. But T.Y. Hilton's still a very good player. I mean, we saw that, especially in the second half of the 2020 season. T.Y. Hilton was playing very, very well. I mean, he was really, really coming into his own after kind of a slower start. Really didn't get a whole lot in the first half of the season. But, I mean, I think you said it perfectly, Daniel. Like, with a quarterback like Carson Wentz, with the arm that he has, it just opens up so much more vertical options, which has very much been T.Y. Hilton's game. So you have to think naturally he's gonna be a beneficiary along with Paris Campbell.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. T.Y. There's only so long that you can keep a guy like T.Y. off a year where he gets 1,000 yards, and he hasn't done it the last 2 years. And I mean, but it's understandable. He was basically the only guy. When Brissett was the quarterback, and then Brissett doing all these short routes and whatnot. And then, last year he struggled, like you said, mightily the first half of the season. He ended up getting this just about average that for his career as far as touchdowns on the season. So, I mean, that's good that he was still able to score. But as far as yardage, I mean, T.Y. needs to be 1,000-yard receiver. He got a lot of targets last year. Wasn't great as far as catch percentage is concerned. I mean, it was still 60%, but it wasn't the worst he's had, but it wasn't the best either. There was a lot of reasons why his last year performance begged the question from a lot of people of whether he was going to come back. So I think with the team showing that they truly do believe in him by bringing him back, hopefully that spurs him a little bit more. And again, like we've said, with Wentz, as long as Wentz is what I think a lot of Colts fans believe he is, and a lot of people in the NFL believe that Carson Wentz isn't as bad as he has been. And as long as he isn't as bad as we all think as bad as the last few years. Ty and Paris, it's a very real possibility that this pass offense sees a real resurgence this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was even thinking, like, when we were going through this list, I was like, I could throw Michael Pittman on there as well. Like,
absolutely,
all these receivers are going to be beneficiaries of Carson Wentz, if indeed he can get back to even his 2019 form. Like, I mean, just the things he allows your offense to do. I've talked about it to death to this point, how much he opens up your offense, but I think it's real, and I think it's a thing that's going to happen in a lot of ways. So I'm really excited for that from that standpoint. And then the number one guy, we've mentioned it. I think it's fairly obvious, Carson Wentz. I mean, you can't get much worse than Carson Wentz was in 2020. I mean, just everything fell apart around him. He just was making bad decisions, was trying to play a lot of hero ball. You hear that term thrown around a lot when quarterbacks that have had success in the past, a la Phillip Rivers in 2019, playing hero ball. And most of the time, unless you're an Andrew Luck type of player, it's not going to work well for you, especially if the team around you is A, injured or just B, playing bad. So I think it's fairly obvious to say Carson Wentz has to be better in 2021. I mean, can't really go any further down than what Carson Wentz was last year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way that Carson Wentz gets benched this year. So there's one step up. The other step, he's going to naturally be better. Any quarterback that has more time in the pocket and can actually stand there and make good decisions, they're going to have a better year than the year prior, and that's 100% what Carson Wentz is about to step into. He hasn't had good protection, I don't know, really ever. He had last year. It was kind of the treatment that we gave Luck for all those years. So, I mean, just running for your life. You're expected to make plays, but at the same time, you've got no time to make the plays. So yeah, I think him being back with Reich is going to be a lot bigger of a deal than a lot of people really necessarily. There was talk of it, but nobody really, I think, put a lot of stock in it. But I think there's a lot of stock to be had with those two back together. And then, keeping him upright, being able to stay in the pocket and make good decisions down the field. He's got good options, like we said. Doyle's still out there. He's got to have a better year than he did last year. He wasn't targeted hardly at all last year. And so, I mean, the Wentz, I think, behind the arm and the expertise and back behind a coach that he truly believes, I think Wentz is definitely going to have a better year than last year.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen it like the last couple of years. It seems like Frank Reich as a former quarterback, I would hope he would, but it seems like when quarterbacks come to Indianapolis, they have better seasons under Frank Reich. I mean, Andrew Luck had a better season, one of his best seasons in 2018. Jacoby Brissett was so-and-so, but I think Frank Reich got a good chunk of what you could expect out of Brissett. And then Phillip Rivers had a really nice bounce-back season last year. So I think you're right with just the support that Frank Reich provides and the ways that he's able to really take the bad tendencies out of certain players and help them get better and back to where they used to be and get the best out of all their quarterbacks. And just the support, you mentioned the offensive line, the running game will be huge, and just a defense that you feel pretty good about. So I think for all those reasons, you feel really good about Carson Wentz and the success he's going to have. I mean, honestly, I look at it like this, Daniel. If Carson Wentz doesn't succeed in this 2021 season, I kind of put it on him. I don't really see any other way unless he's just outright bad for this team that he's going to fail because they put all the pieces around him for him to really bounce back and really maybe really contend for comeback player of the year potentially with the support that they give him. But all right, guys, that is our list of the top 5 Indianapolis Colts who we think will have better 2021 seasons than in 2020. Obviously, there's a lot more guys that we could have put on this list. You mentioned Jack Doyle. We think maybe he's going to have a better season. There's a lot of other guys I thought like maybe Jonathan Taylor because of the first half of the season was a little bit slow for him. But I think I'm pretty good with this list. I think it's a really solid list. But what do you guys think? Are there any other people that you would add that we didn't add or any guys that you would take off that we had on our list? Let us know in the comments below. Daniel, thank you so much, man, for coming on. This is a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
All right. And thank you guys for tuning in. As always, go Colts.